It's only Thursday. I thought it was Friday when I woke up and I got excited. But it's not. Hey guys, it's Thursday. It's November 12th. And this is In Case You Missed American History. If you're watching this, that probably means I'm going to shift so you don't have the sun straight behind you. You probably missed class for some reason. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone around you is well. Hope everything's okay. I'm doing great. Every day you wake up this pretty, it's a win. Anywho, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the things that we did today, give you a couple of reminders, and yeah, that should be about it. So I'm going to get rolling because I don't want to eat up too much of your day. And yeah, there you go. All right. So one thing while I'm talking to you guys, I'm going to make an edit on this because, well, doesn't quite go with what we're talking about here. Okay. I missed that one. So today what we're going to do, or what we did, is that we're going to take a quiz tomorrow. So, I'm kind of wrapping things up on this little chunk of the unit. So if you're in class tomorrow, be prepared that what I'm going to do at some point in class when we're all done going through the stuff is I'm going to share a link to a Google form with you. They're going to be short answers. You can use your notes. There's nothing I can do about that. But, make sure you're detailed in your answers and things like that. So please, there you go. Next thing is that we did a little bit of a quick review. We just reviewed some of the big ideas that we've been talking about, just trying to make sure that everybody's on the same page about some of the things, and that, everybody's just got kind of an understanding what's going on. We're going to discuss the impact of the Black Codes, and we're going to look more at the problems between Johnson and Congress. And then with the time you have left allotted for American history, I'm going to let you guys work on your assignment. Don't forget that you've got an assignment due tomorrow at midnight. That Reconstruction overview is due then. So please get that done. And if for some reason you haven't handed Reconstruction introduction in yet, you're on my list. I'm going to start emailing parents soon. Okay. All right, here we go. 2 slides to look at today. All right, so yesterday we talked about Black Codes. Black Codes are basically laws that only applied to the freedmen. They were laws that limited their freedom, laws that, although they were no longer slaves, really tried to keep them in a state of, I always say, semi-slavery. They weren't really slaves, but they sure didn't have the same rights and freedoms as other people. The examples I used are things like you couldn't own a gun, you couldn't interracially marry, a lot of different things along those lines. And so obviously different people had different reactions to the Black Codes when they heard about them or when they saw them. Obviously the first group of people are going to be the freedmen, the former slaves. And obviously those laws are going to irritate them because when someone tells you you're free, you assume that you're going to have all the other rights and freedoms that other free people in your country have. Well, that wasn't the case because these laws obviously took those things away and made it really, really tough for Black people to live their lives in the South. And so Black people attempted to organize and get together and talk about these things and see what they could do about them. Well, then a lot of Southern states then added a new Black Code that said it was illegal for more than 10 in some states, Black people to meet in the same building at the same time unless they were family. And so that made it really hard to have these meetings the way that these people wanted to. And so the Black people in the South started holding secret meetings. They started meeting in secretive locations at odd times and things like that. If they were caught at one of these meetings, they could be arrested. There's one case in, I believe it's South Carolina. It might have been Georgia. I'm sorry. I'm, little, but where a group of people had this meeting at an all-Black church, and they were holding it like midnight, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And the white sheriff in the town found out about the meeting. Rather than going and arresting the people, he notified the local KKK, which he was a member of, and they went to the church and burned a cross on the front lawn, and then nailed the doors and windows shut to the church before torching it. And the church burned down, and all the people inside were killed because it was all African American people. Basically, it was seen that there was no crime, and therefore Nothing ever happened. No one ever went to jail. There was never an investigation. Obviously, these black codes outraged the radical Republicans, the people in Congress that wanted the former slaves to have their freedom, full rights, that wanted to punish the South. They're ticked off, and so this makes them push even harder for full voting rights, for full citizenship, for full everything. Now they're unsuccessful in this right away, but it kind of gives them more motivation. It's like if someone that you don't like keeps doing things that progressively get worse and worse and worse towards you, it's going to give you more motivation to eventually get back at that person. Oh, the lights just went out. And every time that person keeps poking at you, it's just going to get worse and worse. And that's the case here. And it actually, the black codes, while they achieved a goal that the Southern whites wanted, and that was to oppress the former slaves, it actually pushes them further away from another goal, which is getting to be a state again, because the federal government was like, no, we're not readmitting you to the Union if this is what we're going to do. So it slows things down even more. It drags Reconstruction on even more, and it makes life in the South that much more difficult. Now, the last slide that we're going to cover today has to do with Johnson and Congress and round two in their argument. If you remember from yesterday, or if you were in class, or if you watched the video, Johnson and Congress didn't get along. Johnson is a Democrat from the South. Congress is mostly Republicans from the North. Johnson really didn't want to give many rights and freedoms to the freedmen. A lot of the members of Congress wanted to give full rights and freedoms to the freedmen. There was just a disagreement on purpose of Reconstruction. And it seemed like they were the perfect enemies politically at the perfect time. And I'm talking about Johnson and Congress. And so there are numerous times during Johnson's presidency that they butt heads. Over the purpose, over rules and laws, over the ability to do things that we'll talk about probably tomorrow. But in round two, what happens is, I think you guys probably know this. I hope you know this. So please bear with me if I'm reviewing too hard on you guys. The job of Congress, the legislative branch, is to basically evaluate, write, and enact or pass laws. So what the members of Congress are doing today, I don't know for sure, but they're probably working on some law or bill that is supposed to help out the American people. Stuff like the stimulus package, things like a national drinking age, different things like Amber Alerts. I think came from the federal government. I don't remember exactly on that one, but I think that's a thing. But when Congress approves a law, it then goes to the President of the United States. So if Congress passes a law today, it'll go to President Trump tomorrow, okay, ish. And he has kind of two choices to simplify things. He can sign it, and if he signs it, it becomes a law, and it's a thing for everybody in the country. If he refuses to sign it, he can do a thing called veto. Veto means the law does not pass. And so when something gets vetoed, it's not dead. It can go back to Congress to be rewritten or like tweaked or slightly adjusted, or Congress has the ability to do something else we'll talk about in the next little heartbeat here. So Johnson vetoes two things that the radical Republicans, especially in Congress, thought were pretty major big deals. And those are the Freedmen's Bureau, Lincoln's idea that there should be a group to help out needy whites and blacks. He basically vetoed the funding for the group. And so there wasn't going to be that dedicated group of people to help educate and protect the freedmen and the needy whites in the South. The second thing he vetoed was what really caused the rivalry to get worse, and that's the Civil Rights Act of 1866. You probably shouldn't or don't know what this is, and that's okay. It is basically a law that was going to give the freedmen full rights, full citizenship, no more black codes, that the black codes shouldn't apply, all those things, just free, just on paper equality right there, okay? And so he vetoes that because he didn't think that they deserve that. And so the law goes back to Congress. They don't want to rewrite it. But there is a way that a law can get passed without the president's signature, and that's through a process called override. If 2/3 of the members of Congress can vote to approve a law without the president's signature, it passes into law anyway. Now, I think obviously the key thing there is 2/3. You need 2/3. That's 67%, let's say. That's pretty tough in the political world, especially with two political parties only, to get that percentage of people to agree on something. But they do get a 2/3 approval, and they pass the Civil Rights Act into law. And so basically, in legal speak, the freedmen should have full rights. This should theoretically cancel out the black codes. Problem is, and I think you guys know this, there are things like the speed limit that people arbitrarily just break. They go 57 in a 55, they go 80 in a 55, and there isn't always someone there to do something about it. Or maybe the police officer's like, I don't want to pull someone over, it's raining, okay? And so there's a possibility that southern states might not enforce this as hard. The other thing that I like to point out here is I want you to think about laws. Are laws forever? Can you think about a law that's changed over the years? Okay, some for instances, the drinking age when I was very young was 18, then it was 21, then it was 18, then it was 21. The cigarette age has changed. The maximum speed limits on interstates has changed. One that's definitely going to impact you that didn't impact me is the I think it's what's called GDL, graduated driver's license. When I got my driver's license on the very first day, I could stick as many people in the car as I wanted to. You guys will only be able to have one non-relative. So when you get your driver's license and you want to take your friends to Culver's, legally you're going to have to do it one at a time. Okay, and so Congress realized that laws weren't forever. And they realized that there was something they could do that was a more permanent change that was a lot harder to get rid of, and that is to pass an amendment. And so Congress starts the process to get the 14th Amendment passed, and this would extend full citizenship to everyone in the United States, regardless of race, creed, or color. And there's a lot more to it, but that for today is all we really need. Johnson doesn't want this passed. He doesn't agree with it, and so he actually campaigns against it. Okay, he campaigns against it, tells people that not to agree with it, not to go along with it, don't vote for it. Well, the South obviously votes against it because they don't want that, but the northern states vote for it, and actually Tennessee votes for it. Now, it's interesting because if you remember, Johnson's from Tennessee. When your own state doesn't agree with you, you know you're probably kind of a putz. So Tennessee votes for it. All the northern states vote for it. Southern states vote against it. It passes, and it becomes a mostly forever part of the Constitution. Tennessee is rewarded by the radical Republicans for voting for it, and so they are readmitted into the United States. Their star goes back on the flag, and Tennessee is officially in the Union again. They're the first state readmitted. And so really where we're at, we've still got the black codes happening in the South, even though they're not supposed to. We've still got segregation and racism happening in the South. We've got the KKK. We've got all these things. But there are legal steps being taken to try to stop some of this stuff. You have the 13th Amendment that freed the slaves. You have the 14th Amendment, which gave them citizenship. And so Congress and Johnson's dislike is getting deeper. Congress and Johnson's rivalry is getting deeper. They're poking each other, poking the bear, as they like to say. Now, quiz tomorrow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some short answer questions, some multiple choice questions on a Google form. You're just going to fill those out, and then you're going to hit submit, and there you go. We're still going to have regular class, so please come to class. We'll do trivia. We're going to do one slide of stuff, and then I'm going to share the quiz with you, let you work on that, and then don't forget that the reconstruction overview is due by Friday at midnight. Hope you're well. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon. If you have questions, please reach out. I'm getting a little bored in the afternoon. I'm correcting stuff. I'm going bug-eyed. Bye.